Well, it's about to sound like a movie. He called the police on me and I was arrested. And within seconds, transaction being initiated. And then you see like 320,000 just leaving and being confirmed how it works on the blockchain within 45 seconds of opening a brand new iPad. And often cyber criminals, they have a great way of masking their identity. About 8 police officers, 6 to 8 police officers.
Tiny but mighty.
Yeah, tiny but mighty. I guess they needed 6 to 8, I don't know.
Much.
Wasn't even moving. You know, there was a silver lining how I was able to teach myself, like, how to hack, really.
Usually I'm good at these ones, but anyway, guys, Yellow Sea Podcast, guys, I'm your host, Ray Antonio. As you already know, another wonderful episode that I've been looking forward to record. I brought to you guys an expert in cybersecurity, but just let me give you a little introduction of who she is. First of all, she's a mother of 3 wonderful kids. She's a real estate investor. She invests into digital assets at the same time, so we're going to talk about it. She's a proud Canadian with an Italian background. She's mighty, but she's tiny. It was the inverse. She's tiny, but she's mighty, guys. And I introduce to you guys Andria, Delia. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, well, thank you for coming.
Thanks. I was very excited to talk about cyber.
Yes, definitely, and we had to push back our recording date because there was an amazing event just recently, and I was happy to see, it was good because I got to see, how you vibe, and I see you have like access to the VIP section at the Grand Prix. That's what's up. I'm like, all right.
I get treated better now that I'm in cyber. Everybody's like, treats me nicely.
She's the type of friend you need. Yeah. And I have to say, too, look, we're not going to hide it. You look, you're a very attractive woman. Oh. And I find this, why I mentioned this, I think it's interesting to mention it because first in cybersecurity, women tend to be more minorities. And as you have more women, entering the fields, usually like a gorgeous woman like you, might stand out of the bunch of...
Yeah, it often works to my disadvantage because people often underestimate me, so they think I'm a dumb blonde. But what I tell them now is that I charge more for the dumb blonde disguise because she could get anybody's password.
But, okay, this is where we're going. It's getting started. All right, Andria, something that we had discussed, we were introduced by someone else, and they told me, like, hey, you should invite her. She's very interested. She has a story to tell. And at first, I'm looking at your background, so we connected. And then it's when you opened up about your story. So, guys, I'll give you my personal introduction of her until she tells you who she is, why she's here in cybersecurity. Because she didn't initially started there. She ended up there. Do you think, do you believe in destiny?
I do, honestly. You're about to hear, divine intervention.
Well said, divine intervention, because she has a story in which I guess you were brought here, and I just like how the story enrolls to you becoming who you are now and not having to depend on anyone in order to to get to your means. So I'll let you tell the story, because before you became a cybersecurity expert, you didn't know nothing about IT.
The only thing I knew about cyber, I thought it was like a Monday that I had to shop. So Cyber Monday, that was the extent of my cyber knowledge.
But because it feels like a movie that we've seen before.
It feels like I was in a movie. If somebody would have told me about 5 years ago that you'd be, a cybersecurity expert and not just any, with a very technical skill set, I would have laughed at them. And I mean, I meet friends now sometimes when I go out and they ask me, what are you up to? And I'm like, I'm in cyber, and they just burst out laughing. They're like, okay.
Yeah, no, definitely. If I see you in the street,
they won't think that. Yeah.
I wouldn't put you in cybersecurity, maybe like
it's okay.
human resources.
It keeps me, it keeps me safe because people are going to be like, oh, she's the one that mitigated that attack or this attack and fucked up shit for, are we allowed to say fuck?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
You're free.
Fucked up shit for cyber criminals.
Space.
It keeps me safe because they're going to be like, that was certain. No, impossible. It can't be that girl.
All right. Before we get into the story, how you got into cybersecurity, what were you doing before? Like, really, what was your skills?
I was, actually, I was always like a business person. I came out of like law school at 21 and decided that I didn't want to work for a law firm. I really wanted to work for myself. So, of course, my mom wanted a lawyer, but, I opened up a salon and spa. I wanted to be like an entrepreneur. And with that, I also invested in real estate. So I would buy multiplexes. And I was fortunate enough to sell my first business, which was an award-winning one. And then I just really concentrated on buying multiplexes. So I would take care of the buildings, go pick up the rents, and be literally like the janitor.
So you entered real estate what age?
Probably around the age of 24.
All right, shit, impressive, nice.
Yeah.
Now
it was only last year.
She's looking young, the fountain of youth. No, all right, super. All right, now it's good to see really the background where you come from.
And that's where my story starts, is when I sold my real estate portfolio. It was during, COVID, 2020, and real estate was at its peak. I mean, my portfolio wasn't for sale, but I was getting inundated with offers, so I decided to sell. And then with that, I decided to diversify my portfolio, not just have regular investments. I looked into like Bitcoin mainly and Ethereum. And that's when I decided to, purchase digital asset at the same time that Michael Saylor was buying of MicroStrategy, was buying all his Bitcoin, which was early 2021. And that's when I went to go buy an iPad to secure the crypto wallet. All
right. Before you get into it, I just want to know, all right, so since you mentioned like you weren't like really too techie, no. What got you into Bitcoin in the first place?
I was actually a spokesperson for, I used to do a lot of networking on my Instagram, and I used to also represent a lot of like small businesses because I'm part of the CIBA, which is the Canadian Italian Business and Professional Organization. So I'm the voice of like networking, and, so I would present a lot of like these small businesses on Instagram or on social media. And, I'm explaining to people how to use, Bitcoin and, prepaid cards with the Bitcoin and Visa and, ATMs and all of that. That was popular at that time, but I had no clue what I was talking about. But, I had friends that were, starting, were investing in that domain. And then I started researching it during COVID, like I was in Mexico avoiding the COVID lockdown. And I was able to, really research it. You will not understand what Bitcoin is and the technology if you spend 1 hour or 5 hours. You will understand it when you really spend like thousands of hours really understanding the technology and how this technology is disrupting and really going to be foundational for the future.
So out of your wealth that you had accumulated from real estate, for example, how much did you invest towards Bitcoin at that moment?
Close to $1 million.
All right, damn.
Yeah.
Was it, let's say in all your assets, is it like 100%?
It was legitimate money. Because a lot of people think Bitcoin illegitimate money. It was legit money. People still unfortunately associate like Bitcoin with, criminal activity, but it's not that. I mean, you also deal in cash in criminal activities. So I hate when they categorize, Bitcoin with that. I mean, there's adoption and 22, ETF funds from the largest conglomerate banks in the world. So.
All right. Now I'm starting to understand the timeline, where you come from, the money, the investment, the curiosity, the opportunity.
The opportunity.
You seem to understand really opportunities and let's say the Bitcoin. Did someone just maybe like guide you to?
Yeah, I had friends that, were already early investors in Bitcoin, the smart ones. And they were kind of guiding me. But at that time, I wasn't like anywhere near, like I didn't even know what the word cybersecurity was. Or back 3 years ago, it wasn't prevalent to hear, you know, ransomware attacks or, you know, fraud schemes. You hear them once in a while, like through an email, but you never actually think that, you know, it's in the community, like close by.
Okay. One more question that maybe later on during this podcast I'll be interested on navigating.
Yeah, because people don't know I'm also a victim. We didn't say that part. So we're talking a lot about stuff.
We're getting to it.
We're getting to it.
How knowledgeable are you about the blockchain?
Very now.
Very? Okay, yes. Good. So let's hold that thought. So tune in because I want to ask a specific question about blockchain, about her story, something that's I think is going on. But before we get to the main story that I really want to share with you guys, which is how she was a victim of fraud through ransomware.
No, not through ransomware.
Not ransomware?
No, I mitigate ransomware.
Nah, she mitigates now the ransomware. However,
wasn't
ransomware. See, her story is going to be better told by her than just trying to like recite what I believe, I know. However, before we get there, I just want to present our proud sponsor, ShopSante, which is, so look, right now, this is an entrepreneurship podcast, and I find in order to be a good, successful entrepreneur, businessman, businesswoman in your case, I find that you need to find a balance in your lifestyle as much as it's going to be mentally, spiritually, physically. And the question that I'm curious to know with the people that sit besides me is, what do you do? Do you have like a go-to hack in order, you know, to maintain this balance of, you know, a focus of hacking yourself in order to go to the next step?
You mean like a balance in my life? I think my kids really like help me balance, you know, my fast-paced life or my, you know, long, extensive hours, you know, on the computer. I enjoy like socializing, so I enjoy going out. So either, you know, I go to the restaurant with my kids or an outing or a vacation, you know, downtime. Like I really value like downtime. So I think if anybody knows me, they know I work hard, but I play hard.
You play hard?
Yeah.
You work out?
I do work out. I enjoy running now. I feel like when I run, it gives me like inner strength.
I was watching a video about running, and I find that if you hack your system, well, your system quite good enough. There was this workout, like this high intermittent run, which is called the 4x4 Norwegian that I just read about. So it's 4-minute intense, 4-minute break, 4 minute, you do like 4 times over and over. And apparently whoever has, there was this 50-year-old guy who's done it, who managed to back his health, his heart back to his 30 years old.
Yeah. So I think it really has to do not only with the physical challenge, but it also really clears up your mind. And that's what's the most important, is keeping your mind healthy.
Yeah, number one. Yeah. And your environment has to be clean free. So thank you for sharing, you know, really what makes you this balanced person. So guys, let's get to the story. What happened? What happened during the pandemic? How did you become a victim?
Cybercrime.
Cybercrime, and what happened after it. So this is where the story gets really interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's about to sound like a movie.
It is.
So like I was saying previously, I had invested in crypto assets. So I wanted a device away from my kids' devices, you know, where they have, you know, Roblox and they have all these like, you know, they touch all these things. So I wanted a clean device. So I decided to go purchase a brand new iPad at, you know, my local mall. And so I go into a big telecom store and decide to buy a brand new iPad. I get a data plan with a SIM card. So they didn't have it in stock at that particular store, but the employee did say that he can go get it at another store that was inside the mall. So after, when I explained to him what I needed, he left for about 20 minutes, came back with the said iPad. I was activating it on my cell phone. And then he was, you know, putzing around on his computer and everything. And, you know, asked me if he wanted, him to like insert the SIM card. I said, yeah, great, super great service. Yeah.
Yeah, super.
Yeah.
Super service.
So he opened the box, put the SIM card in, re-put it in the box, and just let me leave. And I kind of hesitated, and I said, well, don't I get a contract, a paper, an invoice? I'm leaving with an iPad, and there's no trace of what I just did. So he goes, okay, turns around, prints up a little invoice from the store. And then I leave, I stop at one little store and then head home. I live about 18 to 20 minutes away, open this iPad, do a brand new iCloud. Don't sync anything, don't receive any calls, don't do any, don't receive any like photos, it was like, I wanted to keep it as virginal as possible, remove the Wi-Fi. I didn't even want it to connect to Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. That's basically the only security features that I kind of knew about. And once I finished the iCloud, I went on the home domain, which is your main page, like with all the apps, and I clicked on Safari. I put in blockchain.com, which was my wallet, and then it rendered sort of like a Google page with different choices, and I clicked on my, the legitimate link. And then it brought me to a page. I did my login, and within seconds, I saw like transaction being initiated. Wow. So I logged into an account. I saw my balance, and then you see like 320,000 just leaving and being confirmed. How it works on the blockchain is that it gets confirmed, and I can stop it. And I didn't touch anything, and I was about to put it on a cold wallet. And I just didn't make it in time. So basically, it was within 45 seconds of opening a brand new iPad.
What was your immediate reaction when you saw it?
I thought I pressed something wrong. I thought I sent it already to I don't know. Technology works really quickly. I think he read my mind and put it on the cold wallet. I called up my friend who was an expert. Thankfully, I gave him like access. He helped me walk the Ethereum out of that wallet and put it on the cold wallet just in the nick of time. But we couldn't stop the transaction, and I knew it was gone. And I said, shit, the guy got me.
So considering it's in a blockchain, there's a ledger that's
you see it. I can see my own bid going. Yeah, I know. It's torturous because you could see it. It's there, but you don't have access. It becomes goes to a wallet belonging to either somebody anonymously. You can trace the Bitcoin on the blockchain, but it's very hard to actually find and locate who is behind that wallet.
All right, maybe you cannot locate who it is. Are you able to locate really the destination, let's say in a worldwide?
What happens is if it doesn't move, it's very difficult, and you need some judicial requests to actually you need a police investigation, judicial requests from law enforcement to have these wallet companies disclose who the wallet belongs to, which they don't often do. And often cyber criminals, they have a great way of masking their identity. So it's very hard. And then once the Bitcoin moves, you can follow it. Mm-hmm. You can follow it in different countries, different wallets. And then once it gets cashed out, if you make it in time, you can maybe get the information, but again, you need law enforcement, you need different judicial requests from different countries. It's a complicated thing that law enforcement doesn't do very easily. All
right, so now you had your buddy work
that helped me out. We pulled out the Ethereum.
What did he say? What was his reaction?
Couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. It was like I was shaking, to get the rest of the money out. And
did you cry?
I didn't cry in the moment, but let me tell you, I shed lots of tears for this case just because, it's sad, in this country, to have that kind of savings of 320,000, you need to earn 600,000. So, it's a big hit, and I worked very hard for my money. I washed a lot of toilets, as they say, to make it where I was. I didn't have anybody help me. I always took care of my own stuff. So it was disappointing, but at the same time, I always believe that we're in situations, whether they're positive or negative, there's a silver lining. I just didn't know it yet.
So
I had a little bit of hope.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
At least you saw like a little bit of light. So what was the next step? So now you had someone, you know, a good
Helping
friend of yours help you out.
Yeah.
Did you call the police? Did you?
Oh, yeah. I called the police. I called, you know, the RCMP. I called the SQ. I mean, nobody wanted.
Do they have experts? Let's say local police. Is there like a cyber expert?
No. So when I actually filed, I lived in Mirabel, but the mall was in Rosemere, and it's two different police stations, and nobody wanted this case. Nobody was coming to file a report, even though the sum, you know, 320,000 is a major crime. It's considered as a major crime, major theft. So, you know, they should have been running. But of course, as soon as they hear tech, iPad, cyber, they
Bitcoin.
run. Yeah, it becomes a hot potato. So nobody wanted the case. They were saying, oh, go to this police station, go to... So I really annoyed everybody. But nobody really came to do this police report.
I would assume that the SQ would have a department.
They do have a department, except there's like one or two people. Either you have mat leave, you know, like it's so deprived of resources. It's like not even funny. So... really, the part that I dislike of the story is I went back. I said, okay, I'm going to, you know, go back to the mall, which was Sunday. So the theft occurred on Wednesday. I went back to the mall on Sunday. And I said, oh, I'm going to bring a briefcase with all, like, expertise and, you know, tell the guy that, like, I know it's him and to give me back my Bitcoin. Please, I'm a mom of 3 kids. So that's what I did. I went on Sunday morning, left my kids. I said, Mommy's going to be right back. Went to the mall and just, like, told the employees, please, he wasn't working. So they put him on speakerphone because I said, I'm not leaving here till like I speak to him, you know, like it's not normal. I leave the mall and within half an hour and then 45 seconds of use that my wallet goes rogue. And he was the only person, you know, that knew about this iPad. Nobody else knew of its existence. Nobody had manipulated it. So, I went back and they put him on speakerphone and I was begging him. I said, listen, you know, I know, just give it back to me and all will be good. You know, I said, please, I'm a mom of 3 kids. This means a lot to me and everything. And in fact, he called the police on me and I was arrested.
Oh.
Yeah. Even the digital guy is like freaking out here. So yeah, about 8 police officers, 6 to 8 police officers.
Tiny but mighty.
Yeah, tiny but mighty. I guess they needed 6 to 8. I don't know.
Much.
Wasn't even moving. And they come, they put me under arrest. They brought me into the office. I'm crying. I'm telling them, listen, I'm a victim. They just stole 300. I said, if it was you guys, if you got, you know, 320,000 stolen, you would have ran into the mall with your police car. I said, you know, I just came back to please beg him, you know, appeal to him as like a person, a human. And, you know, they didn't know what to do with me. So they brought me to the police station. So I said, okay, can I take my car to the police? They're like, no, you have to ride in the police car. So I was like, okay, can I sit in the front? They're like, no, you have to sit in the back. I was like, oh, my Lord.
Did they handcuff you? Or
no, thankfully not. Oh, my God. I think they just didn't want to hear me.
Right next to the K9.
So I had to sit in the back seat of a cop car. And here I am, like, you know, I help the community. I have, like, buildings in the community, you know, like, and, you know, I come from a police family. This was, like, so shameful. And I said, here I am, the victim. And I was like, this is how I'm being treated. I couldn't even believe it.
Did you begin to question, let's say, how the system works?
Yes. Well, this is where my mindset started, where it was like a pivotal moment in this case. So when they brought me to the police station, of course, they had to take off all my jewelry, my stuff. And I was like, okay, well, where am I waiting? I thought I was going to like wait in an office, right, for the investigator to question me. Because usually when they put you in a, you know, like when they like arrest you, they just give you a piece of paper and you have to like show up to court, you know. You don't have to go like necessarily to the police station, but the investigator wanted to speak to me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to wait in the office. They're like, no, you're going to wait in the cell.
Oh, yeah?
I was like, what do you mean the cell? So yeah, so I mean, you know, I never had any problems with law enforcement, so I was like freaking out. you know, called up a lawyer and who was just a friend. Like, I don't even have a criminal lawyer. And he said, yeah, you know, unfortunately you have to listen to them and you have to go. And I was like, when am I going to get out? And nobody knew. So in fact, okay, I'm walking to when they're about to put me in the jail cell, the holding cell. And it's not like, you know, how you see on TV where it's like bars and you can put your head out and you can like breathe. It's like literally like closed doors, like, you know, sorry, it's like big metal doors. And so I'm walking in and I still remember myself saying like, God, just show me that this is where I have to be.
Question, under what charges did they arrest you?
Intimidation and menace. I know, I look very menacing. I know, here it is. And the guy wasn't even there. He was on speakerphone.
Was it a big guy?
No, he's an average guy, and I'm under average. Like, I don't think I'm very scary.
Shame on you.
I guess so. I guess I look like a bitch. I don't know. So I'm, you know, this is my pivotal moment of like asking God, like, what the hell am I doing here? And if there's a reason. So I walk into the holding cell and they close the door behind me and I'm claustrophobic and I see like a metal bed and a little toilet with a little roll of paper. And I was like,
you were alone in that cell?
Yeah, I was alone, thankfully. And they closed the door and I'm about to faint because I'm claustrophobic. I turn around and I see on the wall, like, you know, sometimes when people are in the holding cells, they etch like their names and they write all sorts of things, and written in like huge letters 2 times was the last name of my kids.
What?
And I was like, and then that's when like a moment of like comfort that, okay, this is my sign. I mean, my ex never went in that holding cell, so it wasn't him. Like that name is not a common name, so it shouldn't have been etched there. But that was a pivotal moment where, okay, Andria, like, I know you trust law enforcement, but just trust yourself, trust your instinct, because nobody's here to help you. And in fact, it was a pivotal moment because, you know, law enforcement did try to stop me from doing my own investigation just because they didn't have the capacities to investigate and they didn't want this case. So it was just a shift of mindset, that not to give full confidence to the police to investigate. Because I was going to be like, oh, okay, the cops are going to investigate. They're going to figure it out. They have the capacities. They have, you know, teams. They don't.
But you really don't. You were losing hope while you were in that cell.
Yeah, I have to admit, I've gone through a lot of shit, but that is the most traumatizing. Even now when I talk about it, like, it usually brings me to tears. Because being in that situation when I've always helped the community, I've always been a good person, to be treated like a criminal when you're, I was in trauma. I mean, I just lost 320,000. I was like a victim of cybercrime. And here I am like in a jail cell for like 11 hours, 12 hours.
If I may ask, how old are your kids? Range?
13, 12, and 10.
So they were aware that their mother is in jail at that moment?
Well, holding cell, I had to call my ex to go pick them up. And yeah, like my family was like, oh God, what did she do now?
What did he think about?
Well, they knew that they were the only ones that knew that this money was, you know, stolen. And so they figured like, oh God, who knows what happened? Like, it's very hard to wrap your mind around cybercrime because people don't, it's like, you know, it just poof. And the money, like it's intangible. It's not like I was bleeding. It's not like you know, so it's very hard for people to understand that, yes, you can be victimized with cybercrime, and it does have, you know, like, you know, you do have trauma from it, and it's like a double trauma when you're, you know, treated as such. But, you know, like I said, there was a silver lining. There was a reason for me to be treated as such, to not give confidence to a third party like the police to actually investigate. And thank God I didn't.
So eventually you got released, and was
eventually I got released, got brought, you know, questioned. And then, of course, that's when the hot potato game, because then I had the charges against me that were dropped within a month. You know, the Crown prosecutor said that there was no, you know, no evidence and no reason for me to have those charges. So finally, I was able to show up I showed up at Mirabel Police and forced them to take the my case, to take the police report. And they gave it to a police officer that was a specialist in sexual assaults. Like, it wasn't even a fraud investigator. They didn't have a fraud investigator.
So
they had nobody.
Didn't know what they were doing.
No, they just had, scribes or secretaries taking the police report. And here I am giving them. And in that interim of time, as soon as I was released, I was on my mission of, investigating. I knew how to build a legal case, with my experience.
You had a legal background.
I just didn't know how to prove a case that was so technical.
If I may ask, what kind of legal background did you have?
Well, I went to law school, and what I did after law school is just take public interest cases. I did do jurisprudence at the Supreme Fiscal Court of Canada all by myself. So I would often just take on cases that would help the public, basically pro bono, just out of goodwill.
Nice, like social, family cases.
Yeah.
Okay.
Things that would help the public. Yeah.
All right, so now we're talking about, and it's strange to hear that society is so advanced in technology, we're a first world country, and that this was just recent, few years ago, during pandemic, that the police, the local police, or even the state police, don't have resources in order to manage these, because I find it's just so retarded on how the system moves. They wait until something tragic happens, until, hey, we got that extra money, maybe we should put it there, because I just find that recently we're starting to talk about, hey, help people that are getting bullied, and we put in resources there. But as much as cybersecurity, cyber threat, for example, there's lacking. I didn't expect really that even the state police would be
every
lacking.
Every level of law enforcement I dealt. Let me tell you, I hounded everybody, and I was annoying, and I wanted to get the police on board, just because I knew this is somebody who works at a mall. This is occurring at a mall. A lot of people frequent the mall. I couldn't sleep knowing. I could sustain the loss, but my neighbors can't. People can. This destroys families, destroys home. Couples fight. People commit suicide when they lose sums of money. Kids, their homes, are chaotic. When they suffer this, or their parents suffer a loss, or are victimized by cybercrime. I just couldn't sleep.
Well, that's why I wanted to know approximately the range of age of your kids, because at a certain age, you're aware really what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the kid's 3-4 years old. Where's mommy? She's coming back tomorrow, whatever.
Yeah.
Damn, oh shit, it might impact them in their self-esteem or things like that, just to see that their mom is not there.
It's very hard. People didn't really see what happened to me. They just see somebody that, it didn't show. And this is what's bad about cybercrime, is that, you're being victimized to your privacy, all my information, my security. And, I'm not bleeding, or I don't have a black eye. But I was still on adrenaline to protect the public. Really, that was my main goal, because like I said, I could maybe sustain that loss, but most people can't. And I didn't find it normal the way law enforcement didn't have a protocol to address cybercrime. Wake up, it's telecom, most crimes, SIM swapping, I don't know, nobody's panicking here. So when I brought this case all the way up to CSIS and C3, which is our RCMP cyber unit, the SQ, Mirabel Police, you name it, and even the Canadian Center for Cybersecurity.
All right. So your first certainty was that when the iPads was opened up by the clerk at the kiosk, was maybe your first lead of how this could have happened?
Well, I work backwards. Since I didn't know anything, I didn't have a misconception or bias. So I just went with facts. Okay, let's see who manipulated this iPad.
And did you see the guy just rip open the plastic from
I saw him
the wrapper?
rip open the plastic. Thankfully, even though the police didn't want me to have these and I had a judicial request, I went to I made a request for access to information when you have a police report. I wanted the recordings of the mall. So I had to spend a lot of money on subpoenas to preserve the evidence. And finally, like the police didn't want me to have them. I had to appeal the fact that they didn't want me to have the video recordings. So I appealed it. Thankfully, there's a jurisprudence that stated that any video frame that had me in it, that they had to release to me. So a big break in my case was having the video recordings from the mall as well as the police station and in the holding cell.
And you could tell that that's not normal procedure for the clerk to open it up.
It wasn't the fact that he opened it up, it's the fact that he used his personal cell phone to take pictures of the devices, of the SIM card, of the computer.
And we can see in the video?
Yes, yes, yes.
Can that video be shared publicly? Or
it will be shared publicly. I mean, it's part of a public case now because my case is now inscribed in Superior Court. So it will become public information, yes.
All right. Did you question yourself if there's maybe other victims?
Oh, absolutely.
Have you found anyone?
Well, in the police report, it stated that there was 2 other people that had shown up before me asking for Bitcoin. So this is why the police was like, I don't know.
There's something going on.
There's something going on.
Yet, but something
they just didn't have, and this is what I told them when I had a sort of like a mediation with law enforcement. I told them, I said, you know, I'm not here to punish you. Like I do value like the work the police officers and law enforcement do. What am I criticizing is the establishment. The establishment doesn't make proper decisions to train, allocate budgets and resources to give the proper tools to, you know, the law enforcement that we deal with. So I told them, I said, hopefully this case will help you sharpen your instinct to, hey, if there's a cybercrime is coming from a telecom store, I mean, this is critical infrastructure. Telecom is like hydro, is like our hospitals. They are a target for cyber criminals. You know, like people have the misconception that all these ransomware attacks, all these hacks, and all these fraud schemes are coming from Russia, North Korea, Iran, and, you know, China. But they have allegiance to these groups in other countries and to the remote hackers. But we have, I call them soldiers, that infiltrate our critical infrastructure. They're like little soldiers, and they infiltrate, and they're the unusual suspects. They're the guy in marketing, like we saw at Desjardins. It's like, oh, the quiet guy in IT, or, you know, it's the cousin of so-and-so. The threats are inside of our businesses and our critical infrastructure.
Well, they are saying the next war is going to be a cyber war.
Yeah, it's already going on.
And yeah, definitely we can...
there is... it's, you know, not something foreign, cyber. We all live in the cyber ecosystem. We all have a phone. We all have a computer. We all have an iPad. As soon as you have that in your hands, you're part of that cyber ecosystem, that cyber threat landscape.
And some people share a lot of things in social media.
Yeah.
So it's an easy way to track, you know, about and everything. That's why I try to keep my life private in social media. You know everything, but you don't know anything.
Yeah, I can, you know, now when I do my work, I get a lot of information through just doing like profiling on social media.
All right, so you went back to that kiosk, that telecom company. Has anyone from that company got back to you from?
Well, it's, you know, I tried so hard because I wear 2 hats in this case. Here I am, I investigated the whole case, and, you know, with all, you know, I kind of like asked the police to give me all the information. They do it, the SQ did do a file extraction with CELLEBRITE, which is an Israeli intelligence platform. However, they just don't analyze it. So they were able to give me the extraction, and I took many hours. I did research, and this is research that has never been done in the world. So my work has now been foundational for you know, the threat intelligence sharing and to be able to mitigate having all this knowledge. And it really is research and work that has never been done. So it's, you know, there was a silver lining how I was able to teach myself, like, how to hack, really. I said, how am I going to figure this out? And so I bought a gaming laptop, you know, put the hacking tools that cyber criminals, but advanced cyber criminals use. And I putzed around with it. I bought every single hacking tool possible. And my mom said, but Andria, who's going to believe a girl that looks like you? Like, seriously. So I decided to take a course in the States, which was the Cyber Threat Intelligence certifications at the SANS Technology Institute. And then also the cybersecurity program at Harvard. And now I'm part of the MIT Cybersecurity Clinic. So it can't get better than that.
Well, I like to hear that because it's very interesting. This is where I find it feels like a movie because, all right, you were a target. Nobody wants to help you. They mock you because of how you look.
Yeah.
And you decide, you know what, you're not going to help me. I'm going to help myself. So you took all the measures necessarily in order for you to, to get the right knowledge.
Yeah.
Let's say the computer and all to get these hacking tools. Where did you go first in order to? Did someone point you out? Did you know someone? Did research on
No,
online,
I did everything
web?
on my own. I have to admit, there was nobody to help me, really. I can, I can maybe count one person that helped me get the Ethereum out, but that's it. And till this day, I owe him. But no, YouTube is a great beginning for that. Of course, going and following like very high-end, courses and like threat intelligence. It actually gives you the tools and vocabulary, the threat intelligence, what the CIA uses, what CISA uses, what the FBI. This is more geared in the United States. It's vetted by the U.S. Department of Defense. So I learned from the best in my industry. So that's what makes me so advanced now that when I do talk to the government or I present an exploit, I mean, they're like deers in the headlights. Like I'm talking like literally Chinese to them almost.
So that process of knowledge training that you got, how long did it take?
I would say within 6 months. Because, okay, we have to understand that I also had a vendetta and I had a purpose now and a passion to protect the public. So I was on adrenaline. So what I did in 6-7 months of like going from, computer illiterate to this is, like I said, this is divine intervention because it's very rare. Can it be done? Yes. Was it propelled by a need to protect the public, to protect myself, my family? Absolutely. But after 6 months, I was very skilled.
So it was an intensive.
And I had to, and I mapped out like, it's just now that my research has come a long, long way.
It sounds like I just have, let's say, flashbacks of the G.I. Jane movie where, she gets mocked when she entered the army, but she goes work out and she shaves her head. And once she's done with the training, now she's ready to go to war.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's about something like that.
Yeah. I've waited 3 years to finally get to this moment where I can finally prove. It's very hard because here I am bringing evidence that is so technical and so advanced that there was nobody in this country. I mean, I would go see CSIS and they'd be like, we don't know. We can't give it to any team because they're just not qualified enough or technical enough to actually analyze this.
But how is it that like one of the highest department in the country isn't...
They're not. And the Auditor General just came out. The CBC covered it. The Auditor General stated in an alarming statement and verification that cybercrime cannot, law enforcement on every level has no foothold on investigating cybercrime. So it's not me saying it. Took 3 years, but somebody important in this country is finally stating it.
All right. So where are you up to with all with the law? There's a lawsuit, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, right now it's in Superior Court, and we're gonna battle it out.
Is it public yet, or
yes,
just
it's public.
starting?
Yes, it's public. Yes, it was in the newspaper.
Is there any, let's say, information about that lawsuit that could be, if anyone wants to research it?
Yeah, they can. I mean, they can. It's in the beginning, so it's been
filed.
Your name and yes, it's been filed in Superior Court. You can see some of the legal documents that are public.
So now you're going for a battle for how long?
I don't know how long the battle, and I'm in for every round.
Nice. I like the spirit.
Yeah.
All right. So now you acquired this new knowledge, maybe this new identity yourself of who you are, on how do you sell yourself. Like, how did you start to appreciate the cybersecurity? Like, really, what you got from it and the opportunities behind it?
I realized that it was a major necessity because here I am, like, hearing about all these victims and nobody's doing anything about it. I mean, I'm handing cases on a silver platter to law enforcement, to the highest level of intelligence of this country, and nobody's doing anything. Everybody's washing their hands. And then I said, oh my God, I really need to help companies. I need to speak out. I need to, you know, put their backs against the wall. And I could, because I have a technical skill set that most people don't have. So, you know, when you mitigate a ransomware attack and you don't pay a ransom and you do it alone, I don't need a team to do it. And then, you know, here I am with IT, and I help them configure and rebuild their infrastructure as if, you know, like with my eyes closed. It gives you a certain level of power that slowly people can ignore, because I can tell the government technically and what they have to do. And we don't call, like, you know, I work for corporations that get hit by ransomware. Do you think we call law enforcement? No.
No, you call specialists.
You call, you know, third-party vendors, private sector, but it's not normal because they are suffering a crime. And, you know, we pay taxes for, you know, law enforcement. We pay taxes to the government. So it's just shameful that we don't have the reflex of incorporating law enforcement or the government, and there's no assistance to these companies. There's no assistance to the victims. I mean, I called the fraud center. They didn't call me back after 3 years. Nobody did nothing. They didn't even question the guy at the mall.
So now you're an independent consultant in cybersecurity. Can you give me your title, your exact title?
I'm a certified cyber threat intelligence expert. That means I take data, information, and evidence, and I transform it. I vet it into like intelligence, so that we can better protect ourselves, either for corporations, high target profiles, or organizations, law enforcement, and the governments.
So how long you been doing this now? Like ever since?
Basically, since I got hacked.
You self-promoted yourself?
No, since I got hacked, I've been like working on intelligence platforms, sharing my knowledge, sharing as much as I could, doing lessons learned with our critical infrastructure.
So now you work in the field?
Yeah.
So now you stopped, like, let's say, everything else, and you said, you know, let me focus on this.
Yes. Because when I sold my portfolio, I was thinking I was going to retire with a bikini and a mojito. That wasn't the case. God gave me this. Yeah, God gave me this. And, you know, I realized that I can make a difference. And the public really, really needs somebody to be a voice for them, because there's so many victims. And it's sad because nobody is doing nothing. So now yet.
Well, here you are, Superwoman, coming to the rescue, I guess.
I mean, like with, you know, there's a lot of responsibility, and it weighs heavily on my shoulders, just because, you know, it's a lonely battle being in this field, because you need law enforcement. You need, like, I can't stop them on my own. I mean, I can disrupt as much as I can, you know, threat actors or cyber criminals. And I try to, and, you know, I expose their fraud schemes. I give the intelligence to corporations. I help rebuild. You know, I specialize in defensive tactics for them. But if we don't stop them, they're just going to keep coming.
Have you applied to any jobs in this field now that, you know, you have the knowledge and you're growing the expertise?
I mean, I'm an independent expert. I prefer to be independent. I mean, if a corporation or somebody needs me, I'm there to help. I'm just a phone call away. I prefer to be independent. I mean, of course, if there's a large corporation that needs me, you know, I won't say no to an opportunity. But it's always great to be independent and to do my work without bias, so I can make proper decisions if there's an incident, and if I have to protect, you know, corporations from cybercrime.
So now, what kind of mandates do you work? Is it like
usually ransomware attacks? Yeah, ransomware attacks. So just because of my technical background, I can mitigate, help them walk through, not negotiate, not pay threat actors, and also, you know, help IT rebuild, boot them out, rebuild. But also what's very important, and what very little people do, is actually do the investigative work. It's called intrusion analysis. It's the cyber kill chain. It's actually to figure out what was the point of initial access, what caused it. You know, cybersecurity experts will throw all sorts of things like, oh, it was likely an attachment or no. If you do a proper analysis, it was somebody that enabled the initial access, that made it easy, and that sold it, because it's so prevalent on the dark web now. You know, initial access, people selling logins, people selling privileged information.
Is that one of the most common flaws?
Ransomware groups now, ransomware as a service, like we hear Lockbit, Conti. What we don't realize and what people don't focus on when they read articles or listen to podcasts or whatnot is that these ransomware groups purchase information. They don't hack. You know, gone are the days of very sophisticated hacking, because ransomware as a service is a platform, a product that is leased or offered to affiliates. You have all these little affiliates that get this platform, and they can just check off all the features of the ransomware that they want, what kind of deployment, and bang, go get this.
Just go attack this. And
these ransomware groups, the big ones, they just buy initial access. So there's always an employee willing to sell something. Everybody has a price, and it's to weed out those insider threats in your companies that do that. But that's what we have to focus on as a society, is that the threat is not far. It's right in your environment. Yeah. You don't have to look. When I do my investigations, first thing I do is not look very far. Look at trusted parties, like, you know, third-party vendors. Even when you deal with third parties in your company, you are inheriting their risks also.
What is the threat right now that's causing the most damage out of everything that
ransomware.
Ransomware?
Yeah.
Do you negotiate ransomware?
No. I have not negotiated ransomware, and I don't intend to.
Is there an exception case where you might?
You know, they teach us that there might be an exception, and I always use the city of Baltimore because they were hit with like an $80,000 ransomware attack. Decided, you know, sometimes compliance and policies don't allow you to even negotiate, because you're not allowed sometimes to negotiate with the threat actors. They didn't pay, but it cost them $18 million to mitigate. So
they should have paid then.
Not really. You know, I in my mind, there's no honor among thieves. So why even negotiate? And we saw it with the, you know, we saw it with some big cases in healthcare. United Healthcare with Lockbit especially, is that there's fights between these ransomware groups and their little affiliates that get paid, or they get a percentage. Then they fight. Then your exfiltrated information or all your secure data is in limbo. Even if you pay, like even United Healthcare like paid $25 million, but their data is still out there. Like, don't think because you pay, you're going to get the decryption keys. You're not going to have a backdoor in your system somewhere and that your information gets like deleted. No, it's still there. It's still be stolen. And we call that double extortion.
Do you work with...
So you can't trust them.
All right. Yeah, I can imagine. Do you work with individuals? Like right now you seem to be orientated towards businesses.
No, I also help individuals. You know, I'm working on a case. It's really, when I went to see them, it was like straight out of the movie Beekeeper, where somebody...
I was going to make...
comment on the Beekeeper. I think everybody should watch that movie because literally it was straight out of the Beekeeper. An older woman actually was frauded by, you know, like she got a PayPal email, which was a fake PayPal email. She called the number, the 1-8 number in this email. And it was like, a hacker pretending to be customer service. She gave him access to her computer, which we call remote desktop protocol. And he was fiddling around. And he was able to actually transfer out of her bank account $40,000 online twice. So that's $80,000. So I'm working on the case because the bank, how does a bank, I can't even put more than $5,000 like to send it to somebody out of my account. How does this poor lady, and we have behavior analytics now, and like banks are supposed to have sophisticated like online services. This remote hacker was able to do online $40,000 international remittances.
That is weird.
Without her being present, nobody questioned her, nobody like...
They just allowed it like...
yeah. And when it's gone, it's gone. It was gone to like a Bangladesh bank or something like that.
What is the...
So now we're going to hold the companies accountable. I mean, the bank has to have better policies and, compensate their, victims because it's not normal. Like companies need, and now there's so many compliances that they have to uphold with the L25. So they're not, corporations are not going to get away with, haphazardly putting security and data privacy policies and technologies within their infrastructure.
And in the movie is unfortunate because
she commits
spoiler
suicide.
Alert, she commits suicide, and that was a trigger
Yeah.
where the beekeeper came.
Yeah. And this poor lady actually said, I actually thought about it. And I said, no, what your job is now is to be a spokesperson to tell all your friends not to accept.
So not to accept phone calls, not to accept.
Yeah. There's a silver lining. Like I told her my story and I said, there's a silver lining. And,
But what was her case, for example? Was it like a phone call? Was it like a text?
No, it was a PayPal email stating that there was a charge, $400 charge. So, of course, she didn't recognize this charge. And, nobody wants a $400 charge from PayPal that they don't know. So she called up the number, like always a sense of urgency. Then the guy, he made a false story, made her believe that he transferred a huge amount accidentally into her account, exactly like the Beekeeper movie. And he was crying on the phone. She felt bad. They create all sorts of emotions and reactions, and so.
All right,
it's sad to hear that.
I don't want to get too deep into the case over here because I think I'll share with you a story that I'm kind of going on right now. Someone close. This person, for some reason, started online, social media, I guess, met someone else. And this guy had like a story. He's like, I'm a general in Canadian Army, and I live there, and they started talking and whatnot. And this has been going on for months. It seemed like to be like the Nigerian Prince a bit.
They groom their victims.
Exactly. And at one point, the story comes like the person asks, "Hey, can we talk on the phone?" "Oh, no, I can't. They call me for a mission to go there." I was like, "All right." So you can never heard the person. Can we do a FaceTime?
Sounds like Tinder swindler.
A bit, yeah. So you see this bunch of these little stories like coming along. And lastly, this general sends like his ID, and the person sends me the picture. I'm like, "Oh, look, that's his ID." And right now he's in Europe, but he's has been diagnosed with cancer, and he's asking me like to retrieve his money because his son is too young to hold the money. But I trust you with the money that I have. That have a bunch of thing, and I get sent just like that the ID picture. And I'm looking at the picture. I don't know what an official ID of Army looks like. So I sent it to someone who's been through military. And the first thing he started laughing. Ha ha ha! That's a general picture? That's fake. So I right there, I was like, bet. And as I'm looking at the picture and I just zoomed in, I've noticed that the pictures that was stamped, like of the profile of the person, was on top wasn't cropped good enough that you could see like the back picture. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. People need to be very vigilant and very mindful. But now with, AI and machine learning, these sophisticated, like these hacks are going to become even more sophisticated, and you won't be able to tell the legitimacy because you can create, like gone are the days where you're going to see an email with like multiple spelling errors, because now artificial intelligence is building these spam emails or these phishing attacks.
Thank you for opening this door, because this is where it comes the next story, the next question that I had. And just recently I was at the conference of Montreal that's organized by the International Forum Economic of Americas, and there was this conference to protecting digital age nowadays, what to do. High-level people in the government were discussing the case, and strangely enough, just recently, maybe like a month ago, I attended a conference in AI at the Mila offices Very interesting because we started a debate. I kind of told you that I kind of have this habit now of raising my hand, just asking question away. And one of these questions kind of went into a debate. And funny enough, yesterday, as I was in the event, they were talking about the same exact subject. So I wanted to bring to their attention the same just subject that I brought during that conference. But the discussion was about deep fakes.
Yeah, I love deep fakes. Well, I don't love them, but yes, they are there.
Yeah. So how do you see the threat with deep fake, and what's the
Horrible.
How do you see AI also like being?
You know, we call it artificial adversarial intelligence. So it goes beyond, you know, deep fakes. It's artificial adversarial, which is our the threat actors or adverse parties or attackers intelligence. So they are building intelligence based on tactics where they use artificial intelligence, machine learning, data sets, quantum computing, cryptography. So they are getting more and more sophisticated. They are leveraging these tools for automation. And, you know, like a lot of the threats, you don't even have to be a sophisticated hacker anymore. You don't have to know how to, compromise something in Python because, AI will do it. So like I said, the developers are creating these things that are and tools to threaten with AI. So we're going to see sophisticated like hacks. There was like the banking hack, which was, I couldn't even believe this story, where to send a gigantic sum of money, a bank teller said, or a bank official said, no, I need the whole board of directors like on board to and vet this transfer. So the guy creates a board, has everybody's image on a Zoom call, and the only real person was the criminal.
Oh, wow.
And he was able to have a transfer because the person saw every single person on the board on the screen talking and, stating, yes, make the transfer. But it was all fake. It was all like AI generated. So, yes, we're going to have to go back to like actually going to the person face to face and saying, hey, did you ask for this? And always take that extra precaution. It's about that. You receive a deep fake or you get a phone call. It's your, grandson's voice and he needs like $5,000 to get out of jail or something like that. Call somebody. Vet it with somebody else. Call somebody. Don't just react. Unfortunately, this is how we work. Mike Tyson said it perfectly. We all have a plan. We all think we know what we're going to do till you get hit in the face. Then you react.
That's a question I have related to blockchain, because as I was in a conference yesterday, once again, now I think I understand really where we're standing at as individuals and, let's say, institutions trying to like assess these threats. Because in your case, in your story, you became a victim of a cybercrime. You went to the first direct support, I guess, like, which is the police, to ask for help. They didn't have the resources, they couldn't help you, and so you had to take care of yourself. And yesterday, they're talking about exactly like, what do we do? What are the tools? What are the options? How to protect ourselves from deep fakes? And all this time in my head, I'm like, the blockchain. Like, if you want to...
Absolutely. I do believe that the blockchain will secure our data information, our identity. It'll come to a point where, like, even logistics is secured by the blockchain. One of the most secure areas is the cryptography and the technology behind the blockchain. So I do see that the future, it will depend on blockchain.
And it's strange because they didn't mention a single thing about
blockchain. Really?
Yeah, and to me...
It's because they don't understand it.
But that's the thing, exactly, because me, I'm just there in the back, and I'm like holding myself, like, give me a mic, give me a Q&A, so I can ask a question. They didn't have a Q&A at the end, so I was like, dang, like, what's wrong with the system? Because it's like, guys, a blockchain, if you understand just like the basic of it, I'm not even an expert.
But most people don't understand blockchain, and
I understand it too.
It'll come.
Me, all right, maybe I'm somewhat intermediate. I understand the process. The technicality, maybe I will get lost, but I understand the common sense behind it. And I find that, well, hey, you want to, let's say, to assess if this, let's say, deep fake video is an original one or fake one.
Yeah.
If it was on the blockchain, there'll be a fingerprint ID. We'll be able to track it. Well, this video is fake because it doesn't have the...
There's going to be a lot of misinformation coming up where, you know, you don't know if it's actually the person talking or a politician talking or if it's just fake. You know, so people need to, like, really use their discernment, the capacity to discernment. Do not, you know, believe the hype necessarily. Research. You know, you're not going to get the best sources of information off of, like, you know, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I always tell people knowledge is power.
Facts.
I didn't know this before, but now that I know cyber, I realize how much, yes, it gives me power, but with great power that comes great responsibility. But hopefully now we're going to see the courts siding with victims, actually holding, like, corporations accountable and pushing forward. The courts will push forward the measures to secure the public, and law enforcement and our intelligence units are not going to have a choice but to follow.
All right. One last question that I have. Based on your personal experience of everything you went through, what should be done? What society should do, what corporations should do, what individuals should do based on really...
To better protect themselves, or...
Yeah, but, well, you just mentioned knowledge is power. Like, should let's say, cyber intelligence, let's say, be taught in high school, for example?
Oh, that's a great question, actually. You know, here in Quebec, we always ask ourselves, what language should the kids speak? You know, should we speak French, English? Teach children the language of computers. You want them to be resilient against, you know, fluctuations of you know, economics. Do you want them to thrive in whatever industry that they're in? Give them the tools of technology at a young age in elementary schools. Make them play with their technology. You know, don't be afraid. Yes, supervise what they're doing, you know, on their technology, but teach them, you know, the language of computers, you know, like coding, have them develop that interest, even technology, hardware, you name it. Give them that. I mean, every night with my son, he loves, like, malware and Trojan and ransomware stories. So I put on YouTube and, you know, I kind of develop his mind and open his mind to, you know, even with my daughters, you know, they hear about, you know, like I could just tell that they already have that investigative, like, you know, tech into their way of thinking, but open their mind to technology. And we need a lot of resources in cybersecurity. We need a lot of good people. We need to stop glamorizing hackers. They're bad people. They're criminals. Just because they're cyber in front of cybercrime, it's crime. And so let's stop glamorizing, like, hackers, and it's not cool. It's not cool. They're doing damage, like, people are dying, like, from, you know, ransomware attacks on hospitals. And start really glamorizing people that are heroes on the web.
Thank you. So how do we reach you? How do we get in contact with you?
Mostly LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is your main platform?
Yeah.
Oh, well, amazing. Well, it's Andria Delia.
Yes.
All right. Well, amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your story, your testimony. And I hope exactly the way I felt when I heard it the first time over the call that we did. Already, immediately, I felt like, you know what, this needs to be shared. Just a little story of, you know, watch yourself, protect yourself on next time you make a purchase like that, which is so simple, just to get an iPad. Anyone would do that, but, like, pay attention to all these things, because you opened up my eyes to shit.
Be vigilant, you know, don't trust, live in a zero trust. However, like, I don't let, like, I still do whatever. I don't let what happened to me, like, affect, like, my happiness. But if I can tell anything to the victims out there, and we've all been, you know, we've all had our share of, like, fraud schemes and victims, but to the victims out there, I want to give them, like, hope, you know, that there's a silver lining. You know, take what happened to you and make something big out of it. Like, don't, be a spokesperson, tell whoever you can tell the story, or get knowledge about it so you can, turn the tables on them and expose it. Because if I can save one person, like I did my job, and already, like, there's a reason for all this. So, like, there's a silver lining to every bad story. And, that's what I did. I just, instead of like not doing anything about it, I decided to, not turn the tables, but flip the tables on them. Well
said. Well, Andria, thank you for telling your story about the situation. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are going to learn from this. We will keep track of really the outcomes of what happens, because I'm really curious to see really this lawsuit, for example, where it's going. Really, what's going to be the next step from, let's say, law enforcement or corporation, on how they're going to react now that, this situation happens, and you need to be ready, because if you're not ready, you're going to create these tiny but mighty individuals.
And I'm not going anywhere, so they're going to have an annoying, woman after them.
Sandra again. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Podcast. Super. Thank you. Ooh.